If you're looking for some really easy ways to start lowering your utility costs, we can help. But before we get started, we are the Canny Couple. I'm Julia.
And I'm Aaron.
We're a small homestead family in rural Virginia that work every single day to merge homesteading and frugality. And we have shockingly lowered
our electricity bill in the winter, which we thought was impossible.
We did. Aaron had high hopes last year
of
getting it below $100.
And then I didn't think that was possible.
Because our electricity company keeps increasing the bill.
Right.
Like they keep increasing
I thought like 125 was going to be
as low as we could.
Right.
It's like 150 is like our average we could get to. But we have actually gotten it under $100 for the past 2 months. And we want to share with you how we have done that. So we know electricity costs, utility costs are soaring for a lot of people.
Yes, and especially in our area.
In our area, it's crazy.
Yeah, we'll get into some more details on that.
We personally know 2 people who live in 1-bedroom apartments.
Yes.
One on the Tennessee side and one on the Virginia side. 1-bedroom apartments, a bathroom, a kitchen, a living room.
And a bedroom.
A bedroom. $175 and $125.
Yep.
It's just mind-boggling.
It is. And like having to be like self-conscious of what all you do and stuff is a big part of it. And we'll show you how we do that.
We will. And we know people are hurting. They're looking for ways to cut their costs. They're like, what more can I cut? What more can I do? There are things that you can do. There are things you can cut. And it's all about habits. It is all about being conscious and being aware. We have learned this. You have to monitor that website. You have to monitor what you're doing. I think that was a huge thing for us.
It is.
But you're really watching that in the air, and you look at like when people complain on the internet.
You see when the parent company is named in anything social media wise in this area, that all the comments are basically
my bill is
such and such. We need to stop this monopoly, stuff like that.
They actually, a couple of days ago, they recently, in Virginia, our local representative, or not our local.
I think our local ones were involved, but
our state representatives have really been going after this. This is not just like a one-time thing. This has been 3 or 4 weeks and months.
Which is unusual. But
and the word monopoly has been being used a lot.
By them. Even.
By them.
So, and one of the things where they had in their article or
was a statistic
is 2007, wasn't it? Since 2007, in our area, electricity rates have increased 70%.
Yes, and a local business owner,
which was a really good one. So he runs the grocery stores in our area, most of the local ones. And
he has them in Tennessee and Virginia.
Right, that use
same size,
same parent company, everything. 30% more on the Virginia side than the Tennessee side.
And it's more expensive in Virginia compared to Tennessee because if you look at their website, it will say 1,000 kilowatt hours in Tennessee is like $200, and in Virginia it's $250. So you can automatically see comparatively it costs more. It's crazy, but needless to say, it's expensive. But we aren't the only place dealing with this.
No,
we are not. A lot of people are dealing with this, and we've managed to get our costs low. So we just wanted to throw out some numbers of what we paid. Aaron went back and looked the past 4 years. So in January of 2020. It
was like 4 years. I thought I did 3, but I did do 4.
You did do 4. January 2022. Now, 2022, I do want to preface this with we had just brought the little one home.
So
I think we were bumped this up probably to the 70s.
We probably did have our heat higher that year than normal.
Because just to make sure she stayed warm enough. So January 2022, it was 293.67. January of 2023, it was 277.16. Now you're going to start to see these numbers start to lower quite a bit because we started to become more aware.
Right.
2024 in January, it was 220.76. Then in 2025, it was 93.85. February of 2022, it was 313.15. February of 2023, it was 231.36. February of 2024, it was 237.92. February of 2025, it was 92.74. This has been after multiple rate increases. It feels like every 3 months they send in a rate increase. And then whenever people start yelling with an uproar and our local representatives
they'll lower it by
say
a penny
something,
or two.
they'll send it a rate to lower it by a penny per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like every 3 months we get something in our newspaper.
Yep.
So, but this is where we've become really conscious. And Aaron has kind of built one of the things he has done is a home assistant.
Yeah, so it's this program that you can sort of manage stuff on your house, but I use it to link with the power company's website to pull the information down daily so I can look back how much energy was used at what hours, and at the same time it shows us a running total for this pay period. So it lets us determine what what we're projected at for this month. So those last few days, if we need to make changes or etc.
Absolutely. So we can look like, do I need to run the canner? Do I need to run the oven? Do I need to use the Instant Pot? Like, what do I need to do? Do I need to change up my meal prep, my meal plan? What do we need to do to save more money? What do we need to focus on?
Right. Exactly.
And it does help. You would not believe how much this actually helps. Just looking at it on a day-to-day or even an hour-by-hour basis. And it's much easier for Aaron to look at it through the Home Assistant than it is on the Power Company website.
And that's because it only works a few hours a day. So, yeah.
So, how else did we lower our electric bill compared to last year to this year? So, we need to do one big disclaimer.
Yep.
One big disclaimer. We saw the writing on the wall. Over the years, we saw no insight of our electric bills keep going up. We knew it was just going to keep going higher and higher. We knew we only had one choice in electricity usage. So we knew we had to make alternative options for ourselves. And when we updated our home, we also knew we needed to have a better source of heat for ourselves for our home.
Yep.
So we decided to make the investment for ourselves to put in a wood stove.
Right. So this is our main source of heat now.
It is. And Buddy does it heat.
It heats really good.
It heats the entire upstairs.
And downstairs some.
And downstairs some as well. So it keeps our entire house warm. Heats our food. He warms up our food, everything. So it's actually worked out really, really well for our family. And this has worked really well for us. Now, this is the only thing that we have done. We've done a lot of other things to our home, but we've got more things planned that we're going to be doing throughout the entire year that are going to help us save on electricity costs throughout the summer that are going to go into next winter. We're going to share with you throughout the year. So stay tuned for those because we're going to share those with you as well. Because there's always more that you can do. But this was probably one of the biggest things that we did because we knew it was not going to change.
We knew that the electricity rates were going to get so high that we had to have alternatives if we wanted to stay on our budget.
Absolutely. So, in power outages, everything else that we've had to deal with, there have been so many power outages. It could go out for us for
weeks.
And we do have a stove or a fireplace in the basement, but it is not efficient. It does not heat the entire upstairs. It only heats that small area downstairs, so it is not an efficient source of heat for the upstairs. So this was our solution to that problem, and it did work for us.
Yeah.
So now we do have to purchase some wood.
Right. So to begin with, just because we didn't have the time to have any seasoned, we did purchase some firewood. 3 little trailers full that we got.
3 quarts.
I don't think they were exactly measured
Not
by
exact
that.
quart.
But we did get 3 trailers full, a dump truck trailer load full, and all of those 3 loads were $380. So, and that's supposed to, like, we figure it's about 4 months worth that we had right there, plus we'll have some left over that we would need to run it. So, we do have those amounts added on if you look at that. But the future is that we will be using the wood from our land for this. So you're like, well, you're going to be running a wood splitter. It's going to cost your electricity. Well, we got the battery-powered Ryobi one, which is out on the market now, so that we can charge it off of our solar panels.
Yep.
So that when we have to cut this, we're not using any more electricity or gas.
And we'll also have a manual as backup as well.
Correct. We'll have one of the hydraulic ones that, if we don't have the power in it right then, we use the hydraulic to split.
Absolutely. So that's the goal. So we'll be taking care of this from our own property, and we won't have to actually purchase any firewood in the future. Now, what else did we do? These are things that really do make a difference.
It is.
Trust me, they make a difference. We've been doing these for years, but I will tell you, this year I've seen such a difference in keeping our house warm.
It actually stays warmer.
It stays so much warmer.
Warmer than it does.
It's like
With the heat
like
pump.
a tropical forest. Even the back of the house stays
Yes.
warmer because of these things. And I will tell you, in some of the rooms, we're going to be making a few small changes, just because we in the back office, we know we need to make a few small changes throughout the year just to keep it a little bit warmer back there. It hasn't gotten really terribly cold, but we do know we need to make a few small changes.
Right.
But we know there's a few little tweaks we can make to make it a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
Double curtains. Okay, I got some flack for this whenever I mentioned this before in the summertime, how having 2 layers of curtains and keeping them closed in the summertime because you need sunlight. Yes, you need sunlight, but listen.
The ability to keep the
the
house
warmth.
cool. Well, cool in the summer.
Cool in the summer.
Right.
It does matter. It matters. Trust me, it matters. Go outside. Just go outside. Get your sunlight in. And so it does matter, and it helps. So normally we would have both of these down, and this is a velvet set. These are both blackout. This is a white backed set here. This is a dark back set here. The dark back will absorb any sunlight. The white back will normally reflect it. So what this does, it really does help keep it warmer in the house. And
This right now, the way it's done, we just did it for the video. This will be closed as soon as this is over.
It will be.
Yeah.
We keep these closed.
Yeah.
But it's closed throughout the entire house. Now in the summertime, I do open these up more. I do keep the gray ones pulled back, and especially this side here, the gray ones will be pulled up for the summertime. Simply because we don't need as much curtain in the summertime.
Right.
But they do help in the wintertime. Game changer. We came across this by absolute happy accident. Now, if you have really old windows, I would go even further.
Yes.
Do 3 layers. If you have an old door in your basement, take eye hooks, old curtains, or an old quilt, and just hook them onto it. I just did this myself. Not even joking, just did this myself. And I drilled them in and put it up there because we had this cold, excess canning storage room. And when I did a temperature check in there, it was so cold. It was so cold. And I mean, you wouldn't believe how cold it was. And we were like, how can we keep this warmer? I was like, well, I've got these old curtains we used to have up. And Aaron's like, do you think you can get them up there? I was like, let me see. I just put a few slits in them, got them up there. You could tell a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
And also rolled some towels at the bottom of it to kind of keep it.
Sort of like a doorstop. But we didn't buy a doorstop.
We didn't buy a doorstop. I don't need one down there.
Right.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It's just us. Mm-hmm. It's just us. Who cares? So it helps. This next one is going to sound so weird. It's going to sound so weird. But I'm going to tell you, because most people can't track this, you're not going to believe how much money it will save you. Planning your showers and when you run water with your hot water heaters.
Yes. And I mean, think about it this way. In a lot of areas, too, people's electricity things have different hours at different prices. So you can think about it from that perspective as well.
We can get on that.
So I did notice, I meant to tell you the other day, on our power company's website, it actually tells us now that those plans wouldn't, based upon our current usage, would be more costly
for us
than the current plan would.
Within the current plan.
Yep.
So because we are so far below. Mm-hmm. But for us, the type of hot water heater we have
is like a heat pump water heater. So what it does is it has 3 modes to it. So it's got the heat pump mode, which takes the air from outside of around it and then uses it to heat the water. Then you have like a hybrid, which does part that and part electricity. And then the last one is just pure electricity. So we leave it on that energy saver one. So it still does use electricity just because it's running, everything in it, but it keeps it lower. And we're able to look at it and see how much we use
because it has
and
an
how
app.
Full it is. Yes.
So we can check on it and see where it is. And what we do is we stagger our showers around that.
Right.
Because what it will do is it will actually kick your electricity on, and your electricity is going to run if you have one person back to back to back to back taking showers, running up the electricity costs. If you're not staggering those showers, like you have one person jump in, no matter like how fast that shower is.
Well, it depends on the size of your tank.
It depends, or how fast your water goes out, or because a lot of people have, showers that push out a lot of water really quickly.
You might use your full hot water tank during the shower.
Depending on how long you go and how fast it pushes it out. So all of these things matter. Stagger those showers and plan it out.
Yeah, like ours are, a few hours apart. Mm-hmm. And what we use per day is around 3 kilowatt hours for hot water.
Yes. And I will also tell you, your appliances, use eco modes, use cold water for your washing machine, all of that. I do all of that. Anything I use, I try to use cold water. I rinse my dishes in cold water. Anything like that. It all matters.
Yes.
It all adds up. Even though it's cold and my water is really cold, I just suck it up and deal with it. It works. And it does save you money in the long run. Now, if I have a lot of eggs to clean and it's really, really cold, I might turn on the warm water just a little bit because it's really, really cold. But it will also depend on if we have to take showers and what time of the day it is. If we all have to take, if we've all taken our showers and the hot water tank's full, then I'll do it. But if we all, need to take our showers, I won't do it. I'll use cold water. So I look at all of this beforehand. But all of these things matter.
Right. One thing we did notice about our heat pump water heater is that when it's heating it back up, it pushes out cold air. So that we have to be more strategic for ours because we don't want the basement to get too cool before nighttime.
No. And if it's really, really cold, we actually switch it to the electric.
Correct.
So when it was really, really cold, like in the not even the teens,
single
digits, we automatically switched it to
the electric mode.
Yeah.
But we looked over the past 30 days, And I looked at it from a week perspective when we were on Energy Saver, and then for a monthly perspective when we had both things going, and we were at 3 kilowatt hours per day.
Yep.
As our average.
So it really does work. We really use solar in our batteries. That I know that doesn't work for everybody,
Yep.
but this does work for us. And Aaron did a lot of research.
And it helps us keep down those costs.
It does. Now, again, I know this doesn't work for everybody.
Yep.
It doesn't work for everybody, but it does work for our family. Coffee and for reheating food. This is where meal prep in our family is so important. So even if you just meal prep and use your little convection oven versus having to pull out your stove and cook a whole meal, that will save you money.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to use your stove and your oven and all of that to heat up your entire meal. Just using that little convection oven, because they make some convection ovens that are super low watts.
Yes.
Like incredibly low. We've looked at them. Now they could be super tiny, so you have to find the right size one for your family. Yeah. But it's going to use way less power than your oven is.
Yeah.
It's going to use way less power than your oven is. So even if you can't get a solar powered battery, or solar charged battery or whatever you're using, you can find another option that's going to work for you. But we have found using the battery charged by solar does work. Now, again, I have to be strategic because we had a lot of really, really cold days.
A lot of cold days. So our current setup is not optimized yet.
For really cold days.
For really cold days. So like we had to actually take those outside, and they don't charge when it's not, above
a certain temperature.
Above a certain temperature is what these like, for example.
I did a lot of food reheating on the stove and cooking.
The wood stove.
On the wood stove, yeah. I cooked and reheated everything on the wood stove. I'm not totally set up for it perfect, but I made do with what I had.
And it's working right now.
It's working right now. I had a pan. I just took an old cake pan and I flipped it upside down and stuck it, and it worked.
Right. And we are looking at a few things to make it easier going forward. It's just not in the budget right now.
It wasn't in the budget right now, and I was like, this could wait.
Yep.
It could wait. It's not needed. I'm making it work. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, it's not burnt.
That's true.
I'm like, it's working. It's not burnt. I haven't burnt the pan. I haven't burnt any food.
Oh.
We're fine. And he's like, okay. Oh. Okay, we're fine. But yeah, if you have a wood stove and you can't find your trivet, just take an old cake pan and flip it upside down. It does the job.
It does.
It does the job. Now, a muffin tin, I was trying to find something smaller. The muffin tin did not work. I did find that out. For some reason, it just did not let the heat come through. I thought the muffin tin would work because it was small enough to go behind our 2-fan setup. Because we needed a second fan more than we needed the trivets. But the muffin tin did not work. I thought it would for some reason. It just did. Now, we did make an investment into 2-wall heaters.
We did. So these were ones that I sort of looked around. I was trying to find lowest wattage items that we could put on, that we could find for heat-wise. So these are more just to take the chill off the air type of heaters. So we haven't actually done the test on them yet. We need to.
We never turn ours on in the bedroom.
we rarely turn these on so often.
Hers we do.
Hers we do. That's what I'm getting ready to say. But I mean, hers is harder to plug in the device to test it. So, but with these here, what they said was, it said on the website per se was 500 watts is what these use. Yes. But that, I don't know if that's at a high setting, the low setting, or if it uses that throughout. But these here have worked out good to take, like if there was no other heat in the house, it could warm a room up to 68, 70 degrees.
Yeah, it could. It really could. It works. They do work. They work pretty well. And it's worked really well with the stove, because with this stove in conjunction to those heaters, it gets the room pretty comfortable. It gets it up to like 73, 74.
Right. Like we'll have, the wood stove is one end of the house. These two things are in the other end of the house.
And that's where we felt like they were needed more than anywhere else. So we kind of tried to be very strategic with how we place these. Now, we did have floor heaters, and they were okay.
Yeah, you were talking about like, the infrared box heaters that you see all the time.
But we were looking for something that was a little bit more efficient. But even when we were using those, we didn't see a huge increase. But we didn't use them.
That previous month, it was, I think, about 110 or so when we
used them a little bit more.
We didn't have those installed.
Okay. But we didn't use them a huge amount.
Right.
We didn't use them a huge amount. We used it more in her room than anywhere else. But again, we use them strategically during the day at certain times of the day. We use the fans circulate heat.
This, I didn't think, like, you always think fans in the summertime.
Oh my. It's like we have found the fans work really well with the wood stove. Now, we do not put the fans on in the bedrooms. We have found that they are not doing very well to circulate the heat in the back part of the house. But in the front part of the house, they're really pushing that heat to the back. And we keep them on the summer setting. We have not turned them in the opposite direction.
It seemed like
it blows the air better.
Yeah.
And this was through trial and error. And we flipped them one way and it pushed some air, but then we flipped them back and I was like...
It did. And I think it might be the way we have our fan set up. We have it sort of set in a circular motion.
And it does have... And our house is a little bit more open with the house remodel, and that has really helped create more airflow in the house with the way the fans are set up.
But here's a good thing to note is if you don't have fans, we bought one of those Bell and Howell little fans that you plug into a regular light socket, and that's what we use to push into our hallway back in the end of the house. I tell you what,
that thing pushes.
And we set it on a low setting. I tell you what, when it gets summertime, the high setting on this, like, it almost blows you away. It pushes out so much.
We're actually going to get another one for the back of the hallway. Now, it's not super attractive, but it's okay. It works. It does what I need it to do. It does push the air. It gives us enough, pushes that heat through. Now, once the heat isn't like up on top of the ceiling, it does push cool air. So you kind of have to monitor that. If you have heat, if you're like using like a wood stove, or if you have like heaters that you're blowing and the heat's going up, you've got to monitor.
Well, here's a good example. When we turn our fans on is when we are at the perfect level on the stove.
I don't turn them on until then.
Right.
Then once it gets kind of below that, I flip everything off. I try to make sure I keep an eye on all of that. I plan my big batch cooking, especially for the oven, and I also plan my canning. I do not run my canner unless it's full. And I try to make it full. I will throw in beans. I will throw in anything. I will make sure that canner is running at full capacity, and I will make sure that oven is full. This is where meal planning is so important for me. I know a lot of people cannot function this way. They like to have that spontaneity. They can't live like that. I can't live the other way. I like knowing what we're having
weeks ahead.
We were just talking about, I was like, I'm at my limit. I don't know what we're having for the last week of this meal plan. And then all of a sudden it hit me and I'm like, here's what we're having for the last week of this meal plan. And it worked out really well. But for me, if I look at my meal plan for the week and I'm going to have the oven on, and the next week I only have one thing that needs to go in the oven, I could go ahead and put it in the oven this week, throw it in the freezer, and then pull it out. It's done.
Right.
And I do not have to turn my oven on. And it makes so much more sense to me than throwing on that oven, because you do not realize how much electricity your oven uses. Aaron could tell me the days I turn on the oven on Sundays.
Sundays is our highest electricity usage days. So every time you see us do our pantry challenge, that's our highest electricity days.
And if I turn the oven on, he's like, oh, 40, yep, you turned the oven on that day. He could tell me, it's like you've used 40 watts, you used the oven that day. He can tell me, every time I turn the oven on. Because it will be 3 times higher than what we would normally use.
Yeah, so like for example, a good normal day for us is like 14 to 17 kilowatt hours. Usually on Sundays, we're probably, 28, 30 kilowatt if we're running the oven.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there have been a few times it's been 40.
It's been a while though.
It's been a while.
Since we've been that high.
We use the temperature gun to find cold spots. So we purchased the temperature gun for the wood stove, but we use the temperature gun
everywhere.
I went to all the roofs. And I'm going to tell you, it's not 100% accurate. It was like $30.
Yeah, we got one of the cheaper ones. But
it's just a gauge. It's a gauge.
Yes. Yeah, it helped us find the cold spots in the house and how to keep those areas warmer.
Yes. So, and I can the windows in our basement, we did not realize how much cold air was coming from them. Like they were 10 degrees difference.
And see, when we talk about the windows in the house, the triple panes that we got, well, these here are not triple panes.
They couldn't make them because of the way they were.
They were so small basement little windows that they are just single panes.
So what we ended up doing was, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. What I did is I took moving blankets and I took cardboard. I shoved the cardboard and the moving blanket up into them and I taped them. And then one of the windows is very, very hard to get into. So Aaron had a great idea of using a tension rod.
To keep it in place, yeah.
So we shoved that tension rod up in there, got it in there, and it held it in place. And it took it from being like 45 to 56.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I would show you this if it wasn't such a mess back there, and we could actually let you see it because it is very dark. That little hole.
We would have set up so many lights.
So many lights you couldn't even tell.
Right.
There's just no way. Because once we put those in the windows, you cannot see. Even just around the door. And it was also how we were able to tell we were having such an issue around the hot water heater.
Yep. The heat pump hot water heater thing there. That's how we were able to tell that when it was running that it was cold down there. Because it's a great thing. You can go around and just point at anywhere, anything.
We were like, ooh, why? We were like, why is this so cold right here? Like, this is not cold. Why is this cold? And then we were like.
And then we got looking at, times and
we were feeling it was like, oh, it's blowing. We were like, oh, this is the problem. And so we were like, oh, it's supposed to be, like 5 degrees today. You need to make a note. We need to switch it to electric on this day so that way we can make sure we don't have pipes that freeze.
Right.
All of these things matter. All these things add up. Now, it really does matter. It so matters. But we were able to find cold spots. We did it around all the windows. I took it around all the window frames. I also did it to make sure all of our thermometers were accurate. I took it up against all the walls, just to make sure where the thermometers were placed, did it kind of match those thermometers, the temperature gauges, just to make sure we were around the same page.
Right.
You didn't know I did that, did you?
No, I didn't.
I went through the entire house to check that. But I went through all the doors. Even our doors, because they're metal, I made sure they weren't too terribly cold. They do feel cold, but in a little cool air comes through them. And we could do better around them, but not a huge amount of cold air comes through them.
Right.
And we also don't use a dryer. Now this one here, I don't understand.
Yeah, we haven't used a dryer in 10 years now.
10 years.
We don't,
Do you miss it?
No. We always hang up our clothes. We either do that on the racks that we built, put together in our bathroom, or we hang them up on the clotheslines outside in the summertime.
And in here...
Well, we used to do in the wintertime, yeah.
Yeah, or in here we do it in the living room when the wood stuff's going.
Yep.
Yes, your clothes are going to be a little bit stiffer. It's not that big of a deal.
It
really isn't. It's not that big of a deal. You kind of get over it or get through it. It's a little bit rougher. We really haven't had any complaints or issues with it. I've got sensitive skin, and it's just one of those things you kind of just sort of deal with and get through. I will say I've had less issues since we've stopped using the dryer. the few times I ever used the dryer before, I don't have as many skin issues than before. But I also don't use as much of the other detergents either. So I don't know. One way or the other. No dryer. You don't have as many electric costs. Dryers do use more electricity than you realize. They really do. So hang up your clothes. You can do it in the wintertime. You can do it in the summertime. You can hang them on your door frames. You can hang them on racks. You can go to a Big Lots. Big Lots is where we got ours.
Well, maybe not now. But
or Amazon. You can get them off of Amazon. I did get them there. I would not get the wooden ones.
We've got a few videos back on that if you want to go back and look at up in the past.
Yes. And then we've just in general been conscious of our energy consumption. So anything we purchase,
we look at wattage.
We do. Now, I will tell you, we did make one purchase. I didn't look at the energy consumption, so I really did think we were going to be much higher than we actually were. But we weren't. We weren't. So that was great. But any of our light fixtures, I have been going through and unscrewing one of the light bulbs for the most part. So
what she's been saying is that, just taking out one, even though if it's pennies, pennies add up to dollars.
It matters.
Yep.
It matters. Anything like that matters. Making sure if you're not using the TV, you flip that switch off.
Yep.
All of these things matter. Like, we're really careful in our bedroom. We have a few of the power strips. If they're not on or not supposed to be on, they get flipped off.
Yep.
That's the purpose. That's why we have power strips. We always flip them off. Aaron's really good about making sure his computer is turned off.
Yep.
It's one of the things that he has gotten a lot better about in the past. He used to leave it on all the time. Now he flips it off every evening.
Well, when you fix the computer so it doesn't take 30 minutes to start up,
all of these things matter. Just being more conscious and being more thoughtful and mindful about how you do things and how you use things, it matters. And I think, again, that home assistant and looking at your energy consumption is the biggest game changer for us. And people do not realize, just looking at that, how much it helps. It really does. And we don't want you to be obsessed with it. You don't need to be looking at every minute of every day. We couldn't. You couldn't look at it every minute.
I know, just because the website doesn't work. If the AEP's thing doesn't give you that good of information, you can look at it, from an hour-by-hour perspective. But that's it.
But it does make a difference as you go through every day. It really does.
Yeah.
It does help. It really does help. It does make changes. So we were able to cut ours down. Like I said, we saw the writing on the wall. We did make some really big changes for our family because we knew they were coming down the line. We knew those changes needed to be made because all we did was see our bills were going to keep going higher and higher.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this was inspiring to you, give you some ideas,
Let us know what you're doing to cut your costs. We would love to hear that down below. We'd love to share that with our other viewers.
And make sure to go over and check out our link tree with all of our other content. You can find us on pretty much any social media site you're interested in. If we're not on that, leave that down below in the comments and we'll make sure to join there.
And as always, thank you for joining us on the Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.